guys, and welcome back to the OCDstories.com podcast. And this episode, I got back on Dr. Reid Wilson. I had him on the podcast back in 2016, so it was great to finally get him on again. And in this, I ask him about his speech he gave at the 2019 International OCD Foundation Conference in Austin. And the speech, as he titled it, is The 8 OCD Self-Help Principles. So in this episode, I got him to go into much more detail into the 8 principles and break them down much more. So I really enjoyed this. I learned a lot, and I hope you guys do too. And before we start, a thanks to our sponsor, OCD. With OCD, you can now receive live face-to-face video therapy sessions with an OCD therapist. OCD's therapy services are only available in the US currently, but the free tools in their mobile app are accessible to all. If interested, you can give OCD's care team a call, and they can help by learning about what you are facing and offering information on if OCD therapy is right for you. To find out more, head to go.treatmyocd.com/the OCD stories or click the link in the episode description. On the podcast today, I have Dr. Reid Wilson. Reid is a licensed psychologist who directs the Anxiety Disorders Treatment Center in North Carolina. Reid is the author of many books, including Stopping the Noise in Your Head. Welcome back to the podcast, Reid.
Thanks, Stu. Good to see you. I actually get to see you. Everybody else just gets to hear you.
Exactly. You're privileged. I was looking back earlier, like when we actually last recorded, because I knew it was a long time ago. It was actually 2016. So a decent amount of time has passed since we spoke, and I have seen you since then, but is there anything new of you that you wanted to share, or any updates since we last spoke?
No, I'm about the same height and same number of gray hairs, I think. So yeah. Everything's the same.
Excellent, good. I have seen you've been more active on putting videos on YouTube and stuff, which is great. So I will link to that so people can check out the work you've done there. But there is, we got you on today to talk about the 8 OCD self-help principles, and you've kindly wrote them down and shared them with me, and we'll go through that. So before we get into it, did you want to kind of read principle 1?
I can, and I just to say, eight principles. I kind of made these up for the 5-minute talk, so I don't mean for us to like lock these down. This is for ever and ever the principles that it takes to do self-help, but they're pretty darn close to it. And I think I just started with the first one, which is, this is terrifying at the beginning for many people. It's confusing and you get lost easily. It's quite difficult. It takes courage. But what I want people to understand is the treatment is not complicated. It's difficult. And so I think that's the whole point of what I am trying to do in my life, which is to go, nothing of great importance is complicated. And so, if we can go up to the level of principles of how you get stronger, then we will see it simply. And you know as well as I do, when we interview people who are stronger, and we ask them, how are you doing this? You will hear principles. They will summarize things in 3 or 4 sentences. And so that's really what principle 1's about.
Yeah, I think someone once said to me, not on this podcast, but somewhere else, and it's always stuck with me. They said, success leaves clues. And I love that. And like you said, when you share to people will share principles. And sometimes it's not obvious, and you really have to think about what they've said and unpack it. But there's often solutions and answers in that.
And I would just say, the self-help community is very much like this. we're all walking down that path, and some people are further down the path than others, and they're trying to, not so much, we can use whatever metaphor we want, leaving breadcrumbs. They've gone through with a hatchet and cut through the jungle. They've laid tracks, whatever you want to say. But as you begin to get a little stronger, you want to turn around and go, who else was lost like I was lost? Let me convey some things to them to get them, come this way, come this way.
Yeah, really good point. So I think one of the questions I wrote around this principle was, how can people simplify it down? But then again, you've kind of said there, just finding others who have done it and following the things that have worked for them. Is there more to it than that?
Well, I think the other 7 principles are kind of how a way to be thinking about it and making it more simple.
Excellent. Okay, well, let's get into number 2 then. Did you want to read that one?
Sure. Well, what I say is you got to treat this like a mental game and a game that you can win. And obviously, this is not fun and games. This is quite painful. I've been doing this 35 years. I don't mean to lose rapport with anybody, but we're talking about a disorder, mental health disorder that is in the brain, and somehow we have to consciously create a language and structure to convey how to beat the disorder. And so when I talk about it as a game, I do want to personify the disorder of OCD. I want to personify it and externalize it, take it outside of me, and I'm in a relationship with it, absolutely. And it's the relationship that we want to modify, we want to alter. We are in the beginning in a one down relationship. And I want us to be thinking about how to move from a one down position to a one up position. Some of this is quite paradoxical in nature to get there, but OCD is manipulative, cunning, clever. You start carving out territory and getting stronger over in this arena, and it pops something up brand new on the other side that you hadn't even thought about before, something novel. It's trying to teach you to cut that out and get back and play the role that you're supposed to play. So, it goes after, for many people, the things that you value most in your life. So, on and on we can go about the strategies that vary somewhat from person to person around that, but it's all about OCD is going to give you particular thoughts, images, impulses that scare the bejesus out of you. You do have bejesus over there, right?
Yeah.
So, and then it needs to have you play the proper role, which is to resist and try to get rid of it. And so once we that's really where we want to start, is like, okay, who is our challenger? OCD is not the enemy. It's just the challenger. And so the challenger has come into this game dressed as the official. And it gives you the rules of the game that guarantees you will lose every time. And so we want to recognize that. And then the other thing that we want to be conveying is, I'm not playing your game anymore. You can't, and we're going to talk about this in a little while, you just can't win if you play the game about specifics. Because OCD is going to take you down if you pay attention to specifics.
Yeah, no, really good point. And you said in your notes here about, as you've said there, OCD has its own strategy, He's very good at that strategy in that game. It's up to you to learn that strategy and then create a counter strategy. Yeah.
Yes, and I mean, that's the plan. So got to understand your challenger in order to know how to combat it, and what's its moves, and then what are our counter moves, and that's really what you need to lay out for yourself. Learn it from others, read about it, study it, watch videos about it, interact with self-help groups, do treatment, work in a residential treatment, whatever it takes. And in the end, it needs to be a strategy, because a lot of the anxiety disorders, as well as OCD, run the life cycle. And so when you do well and you nail it, and let's say, I think we have some issues around can you be cured, quote unquote, from OCD and such, but you can absolutely be without OCD in your life, because you can get to a place where you don't fit the criteria of the disorder anymore. You're not diagnosable. So having an obsession every once in a while, having an OCD event every once in a while, does not make you diagnosed with OCD. So the issue of doing well is you set down your skills. And you don't need to have, you don't need to be remembering them and you're watching and holding on closely. Then if symptoms return, you get another brush with OCD again, you're going to get caught off guard for a while. And my goal would be for people to be able to pick up their strategies that they used before, brush them off, and get going again. I think it is ridiculous. Sorry, I'm opinionated.
It's okay.
For every time OCD comes in and gives you a new theme or topic, you have to return to treatment to work on that theme or topic again. That's terrible. We're not doing a good job in the profession if we are not transferring skills from ourselves as therapists over to our clients and help them metabolize it and make it their own. So
nice. Good points. Thank you for sharing. And then principle 3 is...
Well, what I said up on the stage is, with a pregnant pause, don't do exposure. Exposure doesn't work. Pregnant pause. And, you do exposure with attitude. That's what you need to do. What is the core attitude? I want to do this. Not, oh, my therapist tells me I need to do this. Oh, I really should do this in order to get better. I'm fine with you having those positions, but what comes next needs to be, and I want to do this. That's an attitude. That's what we're going to be talking about, right? I want to do what I don't want to do. And there's the paradox, right? So we're now, not only do we kind of think about OCD as an entity outside of ourselves, but now we're kind of splitting ourselves up a little bit. But, we've got the part of us that just doesn't want to go through this. And we have to have a therapeutic side of us that goes, yeah, I get that, but I have an outcome picture that's important to me, and I want that. And to get there, I have to travel a path that I don't want to travel because it's terribly uncomfortable and frightening and scary, and I don't know if it's the right thing to do, and I have a lot of doubt and blah, 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 right? And I want to do it. And I want to do it in part because, and here's the more cognitive part, I'm a cognitive therapist, so I'm going to go to the cognitive part. I want to do this because I get the logic of why this is the strategy. And so even though it's really stressful and unpleasant, let's go. Let's get going. I want whatever it is that scares me about my OCD.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I remember when you came on 2016, you mentioned the outcome picture, and obviously you just mentioned it there. And I guess for those that aren't familiar with that, it'd just be good to explain that concept a bit more.
Sure. Of course, if I think about people come into treatment with me, everybody wants to come in. I treat all the anxiety disorders and OCD, and they want to get rid of the disorder. I totally get that. Of course, this is what I do for a living is to help people get rid of the disorder. But the outcome, the goal of getting rid of the disorder and the process of treatment are paradoxical, because the last thing you want to be doing is trying to get rid of anything around all of this stuff. So when we talk about outcome picture, the outcome picture cannot be to live life without my obsessions and compulsions. That's not helpful. What is it that I want in my life? And let's get that clear. A lot of the work, of course, that they do in ACT, you had Stephen Hayes, I think, on here at some point. ACT is probably the closest school of treatment to what I do. And so you want to have values out there of where you want to go, and whatever it takes to get there, that's what I'm going to do. And if I have to get there dragging OCD with me, well, then that's what I'm going to do. So that needs to be the motivation, not the absence of something. If somebody says, well, I just want to live life without, having obsessions and compulsions. Okay. And if you got there, what would you want to be doing? And when we get down to it, in terms of how long suffering has gone on for some people, what they want is their mind back. And that's perfectly fine goal to be having too. So let's get going. If that's important enough to you, you need to have an outcome picture that is important enough and strong enough of a value to you that it can override the fear that OCD presents you.
Yeah, no, I'd say that makes sense. Yeah, so when you're faced with that fear, and in the case of exposure work, it's that outcome picture that pulls you forward. The fear's still there, but I want this thing so much, this outcome picture, that I'm going to face the fear anyway. And then you bring in the element of, you do it with attitude as well, of bring it on, I want this. Let's go sort of attitude.
Yeah. You got the outcome picture, and then you got the path to get from here to there. And the whole thing around the path is that requires trust. Because, when you think about what OCD does, it generates another belief system in there. And so it's one of these few disorders where you have to go against your mind, go against instructions or messages that you literally hear yourself saying. And it's a very bizarre kind of strategy to hear it and then not follow it. So it does require a sense of trust in the theory and the protocol and whoever's trying to help you present it. Very often those of us who are therapists, we manifest the treatment. And so if we lose rapport with, of course, I lose rapport with people all the time, because I talk about some of these things and they go, what? go toward what I hate, so So anyway, yes, it's kind of that combination of the outcome picture and then a sense of I'm on the right path to get there. Otherwise, if you don't have a sense of trust around the path, then what comes up is, why would I want more pain and suffering? Why would I do this procedure that just hurts me and frightens me. There's no motivation for people. So there is a kind of persuasion that is necessary. You have to drink the Kool-Aid in order to follow something that you have doubt about. And this whole thing around doubt in general, this is the other weird thing, is like you gotta operate when in the moment you doubt that that's the right thing to do. And a lot of what I'm trying to do now with people is let's establish what the rules are, and let's establish them prior to the encounter with the obsessions and the urge to do the compulsions, because if you wait until those moments, you're sunk. Right. So again, I kind of divide up again. I've got a therapeutic self that when I'm not in the middle of an obsessive compulsive moment, that I'm not caught up in it, I want to think through logically, what's the proper thing for me to be doing now? And let's lay that out as a guideline and a rule. And then that makes sense. Like, how I clean up after cooking with raw chicken or meat, or, what do I do when I have a particular image that flashes up in my mind? Whatever it is, work that out. If it's a position, if it's a set of rules, whatever, work it out when you're clear-headed, and then lock it down. Mm. And once you lock it down, then you go into the scene of trouble, and you, by going into that scene, you provoke the obsession and the urge to do the compulsion. And now the person who's in the room with the event is the one who's been victimized by the disorder for all this time. And he or she needs to just be a worker bee, meaning you don't question the rules, much as in the moment you go, wait, this is a little different than usual. This has this added little feature. I don't know that the rules fit this. As soon as you allow yourself to loosen up on the rules, you're sunk, because the doubt comes in, and then you go, well, maybe best to not do this anymore. So you got to lock it down and then operate like a worker bee. Of course, you're going to doubt it and not want to do it, and yet do it anyway. And that's that trust that we're talking about.
Yeah, no, thank you for sharing that. And what kind of hit me as you were talking was kind of an image or analogy of kind of sailing, and you don't wait for big waves, 20-foot waves to hit before you learn how to sail in those types of seas. You have a plan while you're in the harbour, and then when stormy seas come, you have at least an idea, a strategy, a plan of what to do step by step, and you've just got to follow it. Yeah, I don't know why, but that just popped to me, so I thought I'd share it.
Yeah, and I used to be, I'm a rower, so I row on a crew team, but I used to do whitewater kayaking, and you have to alter the water. If you don't take control, you're going to just flow on down wherever the river wants to take you. So you put your oar in your paddle in such a way that you drag yourself to one side or the other, or into an eddy, or through those rocks, but you are disrupting the pattern in order to take control. And that's what we want to be thinking about OCD too. It's got a pattern, and your job is to disrupt the pattern.
Yeah, excellent. And principle 4
is own the work. I'm this is one of my, these are all strong feelings that I have about these things. But here again, I think sometimes both therapists as well as clients collude in presenting, here's what you have to do. Here's exposure and response prevention, and it's presented relatively simply, which is a good part, but clients don't metabolize the work, and they try to just follow what the instructions are without really getting it. And that's not owning the work. All that we've been talking about already kind of fits in with this one. I need to metabolize it. If I have questions, I need to keep asking. Be skeptical. If I'm working with somebody, I want them to be as skeptical as they feel, because I want all the resistance in the room with me so that we can take it down. If they hide it out and then later on they go, well, I don't know, whether I want to do that, then things aren't working well. So we don't want to follow guidelines from a book or a therapist or any other location just to follow it because it's supposed to be right. You just gotta own it. Don't do it simply because you should, even though you should is an acceptable component of the position that you take.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And is there any clients to you that really stick out, or anyone that's really impressed you with how they've owned the work they've done with you?
Oh, all the time. It's very interesting what happened. And I am, like many of us, a specialist, so I see people who have seen lots of other people in the past, and some people I have seen, some people are up like a phoenix. If you give them the principles and they go, oh, it's like a game and it wants me to do this, so I'm going to do that. Some people just can get it, and the light bulb goes on and they're up like a phoenix. Other people, I can see 2 or 3 years and we're still working on things, but no matter how long it's been, what tends to happen eventually, I got 2 people doing it now, is that they go, oh, I think I get it now. I'm working with a guy now. I'm working with everybody online, but I'm working with a man or woman right now who just had that kind of aha around what, of course, I felt like I explained to her numbers of times, which I did, which is, oh, it's not about my topic. It's about generic uncertainty. Oh, right. And so that happens. And when that happens, then people are often running with it. And it happens with other anxiety disorders too. Of course, it's like, oh, I need to want to be embarrassed. I need to seek out embarrassment. Oh, interesting. Right. So, oh, I feel shame. I've been trying to get rid of my shame. Wait a minute. I don't have to. No, let me stop trying to get rid of my shame, because, shame is a part of a lot of people with OCD. And just to digress for a minute around shame, because I can talk about anything I want.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, shame, it's interesting. Shame is a pretty intense emotion, and you can totally handle shame. Anybody can totally handle shame. Where the thing that goes wrong is we tag messages to the shame. I'm feeling shame now, and here are the reasons why I should. And if we release the story, right, if we put down the pen and just feel the emotion as that's what I need to do, then that's transformative for people. But nobody really gets that unless you kind of explain it to them. So I know you want really very explicit things, but as soon as I go there, then I got confidentiality.
Yeah,
thing.
no worries.
My mind turns to mush. Like, oh, I just said it was a man. I'm gonna say it's a woman. So.
Yeah, no worries. No, thank you for that. That was yeah, insightful. So principle 5.
This is an aggressive sport.
Mm-hmm.
It is. I mean, if we think about the game board really is uncertainty. And OCD is taken over the game board with it convincing you that you must be certain about things. And so you just start giving up territory mentally, physically. You don't return to school. You don't get married. You don't have kids. You don't express things to people in the way you would like to. All this stuff that happens because you want to be sure before you take actions. So now you've got OCD kind of as the dominant force here. You have to aggress back. This is not for the meek and timid. You got to find the courage to aggress. And what do I mean by aggress? You have to regress into the game board. And I often say to people when I do my groups, I was like, yeah, like just get a tattoo it across your forehead or something that just says uncertainty. I want uncertainty. If you want your life back, you need to seek out uncertainty, because that's where your territory is. And it takes again, I mentioned to you before around kind of hacking with a machete through the jungle if you need to, right? Is if we think neurologically, we are, with all the work that all of us are doing, this is neurological in the end. And we are trying to lay down tracks in the brain, neural pathways. And to lay down that track, we're up there in the jungle where there is no guide. And so to lay down those tracks, it really does take that machete to come through and hack through and start getting that path. And that's aggression. And that's what I want people to understand. I've got to do what I don't want to do. If you play soccer, you know the difference. I used to play soccer and as an adult, and frankly, I sucked at soccer. And so primarily I played defense, but when you're offense, when you're the forward, you are crossing that line into the challenger's territory, and you're going to feel exposed. You're going to feel kind of out there and not protected. And that's exactly the feeling you want to go get for yourself. Then you're in the right place. So that's, you got to bring it. Hey, OCD, if I've got to take what you're dishing out, then give me 2 servings and give them to me now. Let's, this whole thing around hierarchies that we work on. And I'm not like complaining about hierarchies, but part of what happens when we work on hierarchies is people perceive themselves as fragile, and they're not ready to do this yet until they've done that a number of times. And maybe that's not true. Maybe doing this, whatever it may be, is going to take a lot of courage, but why would you want to take years to do work when you could do it in months? And for some people weeks. And so, but that takes that kind of courage and aggression.
And principle 6.
Well, again, people come in to see me and I'm trying to explain some of the stuff that I do, how I think about stuff, this work. Well, I'll talk about that in the 7th one. But people come in and say, well, my therapist says, maybe the door is locked, maybe it's not locked. I can handle uncertainty, those kinds of messages. And the problem I have with that is that unless it's explained really well, it is supporting the topic, the content, the theme of the obsession. And this has nothing to do with your theme. No OCD has anything to do with the topics. None of them, whether it's harm or contamination or none of it. And that again is where I think we as a profession are failing people, because we explain it, but we don't really embed it into their consciousness. This is not psychoeducation. And I think that is, we treat the opening sessions of cognitive behavioral therapy and exposure and response prevention as though it is psychoeducation. And yes, you can probably put that umbrella up there, but it is, what we want to do is embed it, not explain it. And I think we don't do a great job about that. So I don't want people to say that so if you've got an issue around checking the front door every morning before you go off to work, and that requires you to check 20 times, because we know how that goes, right? Oh, I forgot to check, or oh no, now I've gone back and I've checked, but I was distracted. Let me go back and, blah, 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 over and over again. So if you're now going to do some practice about that, so you want to reduce the 20, let's say you go, okay, well, I'm going to check it 5 times and then I'm done and I'm going to walk away. And so after time number 5, you turn away and you walk down the steps and go down the sidewalk. And now the work begins. And what is the work right now? The work is, I am leaving behind a circumstance that the part of me that's victim to the disorder is still attached to. She's going, Rita, where are you going? You don't know if that's checked. You don't know if it's unlocked or not. So I'm going to walk away at that point, and I'm going to operate as though there's nothing to see there. There's nothing to do back there. Not, I'm sure the door's locked, but this has nothing to do with the door. What I now am going to experience is this, what I'm describing as generic uncertainty and the distress that goes with it. So as I walk away from the door, I'm not uncertain about the door, because that's OCD's territory. I'm just plain uncertain. And that's the feeling I want to sit with. Now I'm working. So, and if you think of the logic of saying, so that's one whole piece, but this logic of saying, oh, maybe it's locked, maybe it's not unlocked, I can handle it. Okay, maybe I'm a pedophile, maybe I'm not a pedophile, I can handle uncertainty. Maybe on the way to work this morning, I ran somebody over and knocked them in the ditch, and they've got a brain bleed and they'll be dead by morning. It'll be my fault. Or maybe I didn't. I can handle uncertainty. You kind of see the absurdity of allowing people to think it's about the topic. So I'll put a little period there for a minute, because I'll just continue to get carried away.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. So it's just so I can get my head around it more. So yeah, again, stick with the door. Maybe I locked the door, maybe I didn't. That's it. That's the content is still there, even though we're trying to accept uncertainty around the content and the worry. What you're saying is more, as you're walking away from the door, it's not maybe I did, maybe I didn't. It's I'm uncertain, period. But the work is to just accept that uncertainty without then attaching it to content.
Yeah, and then you will need to say it, because you're going to hear it. This is about the door, and you got to, in some way or another, convey to yourself it's not about the door. It's that's the piece I'm going to keep working, and we'll take it just one more step and say to myself, good. Which of course is paradoxical too. Here I am doing this thing that's so scary, but like, good. I'm walking away now. Good. I'm feeling all this uncertainty. Great. I'm really feeling the distress of this uncertainty. Excellent. Now I'm working. So I want to the idea of saying good is to support myself in doing exactly what I need to be doing to get stronger. And obviously, it is counter to what comes up naturally to us in those circumstances.
Mm.
I'm nervous, I'm scared, and it's going to cost me. I'm going to do this practice, it's going to cost me. It's going to cost me concentration. It's going to be hard if I'm going to work. It's going to be hard for me to concentrate in that meeting or speak really distinctly to other people or, track this work I'm trying to do today because I'm still got part of me that's preoccupied. And oh well, I mean, the doing the treatment is just as difficult as having OCD events.
Yeah. No, that's fascinating. Thank you for sharing. Okay, so principle 7.
You do this work moment by moment. That's how I think that's probably the left turn that I take that people get lost about and that's why I don't do exposure and response prevention with a capital ERP. Obviously one has to be exposed to the circumstances that threaten you, and obviously you have to figure out how to withhold doing your compulsions when you have the urge to do your compulsions, but you win moment by moment. So how I'm handling this very moment is what I want to be focused on. And OCD does this great manipulative trick for a lot of people, which is it throws you into the future, right? So, okay, well, I have this urge to do my compulsion, and my job right now is to not do my compulsion. But boy, if this stays on my mind all the way through to tomorrow is a really important task I've got to be doing at work, and I can't tolerate still not knowing. Why don't I go ahead and get rid of it? Because so tomorrow I'll be okay. And so then they end up doing their compulsion. And we've got to try to hold people back around that and just go right now is what I'm doing. What's happening right now? What's my response to right now? And if I'm resisting, what can I do to not resist and just accept the present moment? Oh, there's that obsession. Fine, I'm having that obsession right now. That's a great response to the moment. And then, if you have an obsession and your response to it is, fine, I just had that obsession, because it's just an obsession. It's nothing. It's nothing. It's nothing. The obsession is nothing. We've already decided, you've already concluded this obsession is nothing. And therefore, fine that I just had this nothing experience that's freaking me out. So you want to win the skirmishes and not worry about, and people say all the time, so if I do this, will I get better? Well, screw that question. Just, you're going to be winning if you'll just run the protocol. You will, and you just gotta do it. Yes, of course, we've laid out this protocol in order for you to get stronger with OCD, but don't focus on that now, because that just gets you back into resistance. Oh my gosh, what if this doesn't work? Oh, this better work. This is so hard, blah, blah, blah. So that's, moment by moment that I talk about.
Yeah. No, thank you. I don't think I have any questions to add to that. I think that was very clear.
And so that would just add one thing, since you have a question. Just a little different from coming home and doing exposure practices for 45 minutes each day, where where you do some structured things. And I'm not saying that's, not a good thing to do, but these obsessions hit whenever they choose to hit. And we do want to have a protocol for those, flying in at any particular moment to go, when that happens, this is how I'm going to respond to it.
Absolutely. And yeah, I guess the thing is we're going through these principles very in a linear way, but obviously they overlap. They go back, they go forwards, they
Right.
intermingle.
That's what I was trying to clarify before we started. You
Yeah.
used the word
Yeah.
steps. I was saying to you, these aren't really
Yeah.
steps. They're just in the end,
Mm.
it's an attitude, a disposition, an orientation, a frame of mind, a cognitive set, a cognitive schema, right? Frame of reference. That's really what all of that is. And the last one, number 8, is really just I kind of went through a little rehearsal of what it is like, which I'm not going to deliver here with you, and just to convey really how simple it is, and the point of it in part at the end was just to go, I'm so done with you, right? OCD, I'm not following your rules anymore, and yikes, it's hard to sit with uncertainty, and you just got to own how difficult it is to feel that sensation of doubt and coupled with distress, and yet it's the right thing to be doing, and I'm so glad that I'm on a path to get stronger.
Yeah, absolutely. And and definitely again, I'll link to the 4-minute video you did with all these principles, and you kind of what did I say?
It's really
It's
5
minutes. Okay,
yeah.
So he was holding up 5 in his hand. And you do a back and forth between you and OCD, or the person and OCD, which I think is quite fun and interesting. But in that, you were just saying there's compassion in what you were saying in that statement of having compassion for oneself. Is that fair to say?
Sure. Yeah. And we're up against OCD, and I'm not going to have any compassion around OCD, but there's a part of me that is being victimized by it, and we certainly want to have compassion for that, and understanding when we slip, and if you go in expecting to do a practice in a particular way, and you just end up having to do your compulsion, which was not your plan, you'll live to fight another day. It's not, I say the same thing with people with panic disorder. Okay, well, you're having a panic attack when you're driving down the highway and we're in the middle of treatment. But, if you're having a panic attack and you need to pull over, as far as I'm concerned, pull over. Who cares? We're just working moment by moment. And if things get overwhelming to you, where your thinking process gets so confusing or gets so frightening, well then, pull back and step away and do whatever it, OCD is requiring. I worked with a girl. Now I'm going to cry. I'm not going to cry. No, I'm not. But, I was working with a young girl who had a physical deformity at birth, and also had pretty severe OCD, and she was kicking butt against OCD, and then she had to have surgery on her back. And after having surgery on her back, and she's in the hospital for 3 weeks, it was just coming at her left and right. And what she and I decided strategically is, screw it. Do whatever you need to do, get rid of these, get rid of the thoughts by doing your repeated mental compulsions, and just go ahead. Live to fight another day. And so we did strategically say, I'm gonna let go for a while, and you go ahead, but I'm coming back. Don't you worry. I'm coming back. So, that's what part of what I want people to understand as well.
Yeah.
So.
No, thank you. That's an important message. And I guess if you can reveal, did she come back and get back on it?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I wish I could describe to you all that happened after that, because she, as I said, she wasn't up like a phoenix, because it was about 3 years of work with her to get her where she needed to get to, from 12 to 15 or 16 or so. But then she went on, finished college, went in and got a medical allied health degree and is out there in the world taking care of other people.
Awesome.
And it's such a rewarding thing to know that she was able to accomplish that for herself. And as you know, Stu, those of us who move through problems and can make it want to give it to others. I
Mm.
started doing this work at 16 years old because I've never had an anxiety disorder or OCD,
Mm.
but I have my own demons, and I went through a crisis that just tore me up. And a lot of that problem was because no one ever talked to me. And I was incredibly confused
Mm.
during that time for years as a child and adolescent. And, I just made a decision. It was only through my own tenacity that I was able to get through that. And I did kind of throw down the gauntlet at 16 and go, I'm not I'm not going to allow this to happen to others. And
Mm.
pretty much everything I did after that was based on that decision. And there's a lot of us out here who do that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So,
No, that's awesome, and thank you for sharing. Yeah, it's yeah. I often hear most therapists are people who have been deeply wounded, and now, as you say, they just don't want that to happen to others. Um, yeah, yeah. So that's yeah. Thank you for sharing. And I can relate to. So, yeah.
well, I've talked your ear off, Stu.
No worries. Well, it's a pleasure. We got a couple more questions though, but
Okay.
slight change from the principles. So I never, at least I don't think I asked you this when we spoke in 2016, which was if you could pick up the phone and call your 20-year-old self, what would you tell him?
Oh, you're a sly dog. I do remember you asking me this last time, and I didn't answer you. You had a different question, so
Hmm.
well, I would say, see, I was already off and running at 20 years old. After all I did in high school, when I got to University of North Carolina, I started a huge self-help course for people in the territory of sexuality and contraception and all that kind of stuff,
Hmm.
and then had already started a peer counseling service um, that served 1,600 people a year, just
Oh,
with people in the community and us as students. Um, and so I was already driven at that point, and I think I would say, um, "You go, man. You go. You're doing right. You're doing
hmm.
good. Keep going." Um,
Nice.
and the only thing I would add is to that self is, you know, there are other ways to make connections besides this work that you're doing, because I think my personal self was more hidden to other people, and I was more driven to produce in that kind of way. So
Yeah.
I would invite him to consider loosening up a little bit around the social contact and such.
Yeah. No, good advice. And then this may have been the one you didn't answer, which was you've got a billboard in North Carolina. What do you want
Oh
written on
yeah,
that billboard?
yeah, yeah. The wear your mask and keep social distancing.
Yeah, sensible advice. Um, and then,
5 years from now, when they
yeah,
listen to this, they won't know what I'm talking about. But
I hope that's the case.
yeah,
If they do know, then unfortunately, yeah, I won't say it. So, is there anything else that you wish you could have said today on the principles or anything else?
not until we hang up, and then I'll think of four things.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, we'll live with the uncertainty. Um, well, thank you so much for coming on and talking about these principles. I've learned a lot, and yeah, I think they're a great framework. So, thank you.
Well, thanks for supporting some of my ideas, Stu, and I hope your future unfolds as you're imagining it.
I hope so. Thank you so much to Reid and, of course, to you guys for listening. And don't forget, today's episode is sponsored by NoCD. To find out more about NoCD and their therapy plans, head over to go.treatmyocd.com/the OCD stories or visit the link in the episode description. And quick disclaimer, guys, this podcast is not therapy. It is not a replacement for therapy. Please seek treatment from a trained professional. Until we speak, take care.